Welcome back to Close Up. Last week, Congress acted on a $4.6 billion Senate bill to push emergency funding to the southern border, where migrants from Central America are arriving in numbers that have overwhelmed the current system. But some progressives weren't happy with the deal that was reached. Here to discuss, Congresswoman Annie Kuster. Thank you for joining us, Congresswoman.
Adam, great to be with you.
So you were a yes vote in favor of this migrant crisis deal that some people are saying was not a good deal for the progressives in the House. What made you vote yes and break with those folks?
Well, look, the House version was better. We had guardrails that would ensure that the funding went to the humanitarian aid to protect the children with sanitation and make sure that they're safe. But I have confidence that this is the best deal that could be negotiated. You can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And this is a deal that the president will sign. And so we know the funding will flow immediately to the border. I think we need constant vigilance and oversight. Obviously, we're disappointed in the way things have been handled. I mean, you're a father, I'm a mother. Any American that sees children being treated this way in our country have got to be concerned about their government. And I'm particularly frustrated by it because it doesn't have to be this way. Under the Obama administration, they had a plan, a family management plan, where a social worker would keep track. We don't need to house these people. They're just waiting for an asylum hearing. They have family in this country that they could be staying with. They could be fed, they could be clothed, they could be housed. And I think the problem is this administration is taking the position that we're going to hold them in detention until that asylum hearing. Obviously, we're not equipped to do it.
What assurances do you have in this bill that children will have access to a place to sleep, a toothbrush, soap, things that we would expect that they would have?
Well, here's the thing. What we ended up doing was putting that in the budget, in the appropriation, these specific guardrails. And as I said, we talked about oversight. I plan to go down to the border again. There are a number of congressional visits coming up to make sure that we know this is happening and the money's being spent appropriately. We've got the General Accounting Office reports, and we've got the media. I want them to open up these detention centers for the media so that the entire American population can understand what's happening. This is on our watch. These are our tax dollars. These people are coming to seek safety in our country. I come from an immigrant family, Adam. My family came from Scotland several generations ago, but when they came, they were welcomed to Manchester, New Hampshire. And my great-grandfather worked hard in the mills, and we took care of families. I think we should extend the same. We need strong borders, we need immigration reform and a pathway to citizenship. But for these asylum seekers that are fleeing from violence, we need to welcome them and make sure that they show up at their hearing. And that program I talked to you about, 100% of the people showed up for their asylum hearing. 100%. So this is a program that can work. They don't need to be held in detention. The other piece that's so upsetting to me is the separation of children from their families. We went through this several months ago. Now we understand it's happening again, because if you're not with your biological parent, this administration separates you. We had a case right here in New Hampshire, a young girl. Her mother was killed, murdered by the gangs in Honduras. She came with the aunt that fled to save her life, and they separated her and sent her to a child placing agency in Chicago. It took our office 5 months to get her back to her family in New Hampshire, sponsored by a church up in the North Country. So it doesn't have to be this way. I want to make sure we have lots of oversight. The funds will be spent wisely, and that these people can either prove asylum or not. And by the way, I'm not talking about open borders. If they can't prove the asylum claim, they should be sent back.
But how much of this money is going to stop the people from coming here in the first place, to stabilize that northern triangle in Central America, to ensure that we're not just taking on all these people?
And there is some funding for that. I think we can do better, and this administration was not willing to negotiate more funding for that, but that's the core of the problem. These are 3 countries, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. These are gangs, there's violence, there's bloodshed. When I was there last year, I talked to families whose businesses have been burned to the ground, relatives that have been murdered. We should be investing in stabilizing those countries. And by the way, I don't understand why we don't just allow them to seek asylum in their home country so they don't have to make that perilous journey.
Shifting gears a little bit,
Sure.
Some of your colleagues have been calling for impeachment based on the findings of the Mueller investigation. Where do you stand on this?
So here's what I am feeling myself. I read the Mueller report. I'm shocked by it. It was absolutely determinative that the Russian government interfered with our 2016 election, and that there were dozens of relationships and entreaties back and forth between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. I'm concerned about that, as every American should be. So 2 steps. One is we need to investigate, but we need to bring the story to the American people. I'm not expecting my constituents to read all 400 pages. So I want to have the hearings, and I'm delighted that Mr. Mueller is now coming in July. He will have an open hearing. The American people can hear that full story. Number 2, I want to make sure that our elections are safe for 2020. And we just passed a bill yesterday in the House. I implored the Senate to take it up and the President to sign it, because right now we know that the Russians interfered in our election and we're not taking the appropriate steps for the next election. And then number 3, after the American people have the opportunity to hear the whole investigation, then we can all make the determination together. Was this high crimes and misdemeanors? Was it bribery? Was it treason? And let's connect the dots and decide, do we bring a proceeding in the House about this president, or by that time are we up on an election, and the election of November 2020 decides who's the next president? I personally am very involved in the next election. I'm excited about that. I think people are really concerned about this president, about his behavior, the tweeting, the foreign policy by tweet, and I think they really are ready for a change.
Speaking of the next election, a lot of the Democrats running have come out against the Hyde Amendment. This is the amendment that prevents most kinds of abortion getting federal funding. In our Granite State debate last year, you said that you considered the Hyde Amendment the law of the land and you would not repeal that. Has your position changed at all?
Well, I think that's a position where, again, the American people need to be brought along. I know in New Hampshire, for the most part, my constituents are happy with the compromise of the Hyde Amendment, where their tax dollars are not being used for abortion. I personally am in favor of the full range of reproductive rights. I think you know I was an adoption attorney, and I always come at this from the perspective of the choice of the mother, whether to carry the baby to term, whether to place the baby for adoption, or whether to end a pregnancy. It's a challenging decision to make, but I come from a long, actually Republican background and family, which was less government interference in people's personal lives. And so my own feeling is, let the person decide, and let's hear from our constituents on this issue about tax dollars and the full range of reproductive rights. This could be changing as we go forward.
Do you believe the president should have to seek congressional authorization to take any kind of military action in regards to Iran?
I absolutely do, and I was so concerned last week. You know, the president, he tried to take credit. Sometimes I think he's the arsonist and the firefighter. When he tried to take credit for, lucky I was there to pull that bombing raid back, well, the bombing raid wouldn't have happened if he hadn't given the order in the first place. Look, I think these wars have gone on far too long. He talked about that in the election, and I think that's part of what's happening with him. But I believe that Congress, this is straight from the Constitution, Congress has the power to declare war, and I think this administration should consult with Congress, keep Congress informed before there's any bombing of targets in Iran.
Really quickly here, about 30 seconds. You just got $3 million for the Northern Border Regional Commission.
Yes.
What is that money going to do?
Thank you so much for bringing it up. We bumped it up now $25 million. The Northern Borders Regional Commission is funding for economic development in rural communities, including Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York. We also, working with the senators, added added Belknap County and Cheshire County. And so I hope your listeners who work with nonprofits will be in touch with us. Economic development, we've done this for the Makerspace in Claremont. We've gotten funding. We got funding for different programs all across the North Country, opioid treatment, housing, anything that will help families and communities be stronger in the rural communities of our state. So I'm excited about it.
Much needed in those rural areas.
Thank you, Adam.
Congresswoman,
Great
thanks for
to be
joining
with
us.
you.
We appreciate your time.